Welcome to Krav Life. My name is Paul Simos, and today on Train to Fight, we're interviewing Dr. Geo Espinosa. Now, Dr. Geo is deeply involved in men's health, especially in the study of longevity. So today, he's going to be discussing with us his views on how we can live longer and healthier lives. So you're definitely not going to want to miss that. Now, here at Krav Life, one of the things that we're known for is creating a sense of community and networking with Kravists from all over the globe. And we want you guys to get in on that action as well. That's why we created our own Krav Life community network. Basically, it's a place where Kravists like you and I can get together and network and discuss everything Krav Maga related. In the community, you're going to find profiles, articles, training, and so much more in there, all for free. So just go to mykravlife.com and sign up for the free community and start networking with Kravists from all over the world. And while you're there, be sure to check out the Krav Maga directory and find a place to train near you if you're not already training or if you're traveling. All right, so without further delay, here's Dr. Geo. All right, Geo, welcome to Krav Life. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing great, Paul. Thanks so much for this opportunity. I'm actually excited. I do a lot of interviews, a lot of podcasts, a lot of talks.
Mm-hmm.
This is my first on something that I actually care quite a lot about as well, which is Krav Maga and its practical use in the real world. So I appreciate you having me.
Yeah. So you're a little bit different than our typical guest. So usually we have people on that are they do it as a profession, right? And it is not your profession. What can you tell us a little bit about what is your profession? What do you actually do for a living, I guess?
Right. So I'm a naturopathic functional medicine doctor, right? So I look at, I specialize in men's health and urological problems.
Mm-hmm.
I am faculty at New York University, Department of Urology here in New York, NYU. And I spend most of my work time as it relates to helping men from a functional medicine perspective. And I'll can talk a little bit what that is in a second, and help them get better from their urological problems. I deal a lot with prostate cancer and other prostate problems and things like that, low testosterone and men, those kinds of things. And so with my mission, with my blog, my writings, and is to help men live better with age. So how Krav Maga came into play is because I said, hey, I practice what I preach, and I don't want to be limited to the things that I want to do because of age or decline in health because I'm getting older. I want to do things, and I want to do things that are fun and practical. I don't want to be limited, and I want this type of lifestyle for as long as possible. So my goal is to play with my kids are still young, but my goal is to play sports with my grandkids when they're 15 years old, right? And so then I'm working towards that now. Functional medicine is naturopathic and functional medicine is an holistic, a science-based holistic approach using the principles of combining all the organ systems to help the patient get better. So in other words, in conventional medical medicine, you have everything is dispersed, right? So the cardiologist looks at the heart, urologist only from the waist down, neurologist brain, and et cetera. So we look at how all the different organ systems are interrelated and how it's affecting other organ systems. In my world, how everything is affecting the urological organ system, whether it's mind or cardiovascular or logistic perspective. And so that's pretty much the principles of naturopathic functional medicine. And that's what I practice, and I can kind of narrow all that knowledge into this area of men's health and urology. So that's what I do on with my day work. And when I'm out with my own kids, being a father, I'm doing and training in Krav Maga.
Awesome. So, how did you get involved with Krav Maga? Like, where did it all start and stem from? Because it's just like pick it one day. It's like, oh, I think I'll take Krav Maga. Like, what drew you to the art?
So I think for a long time I put some thought into that, right? I said, why? How did I end up here? And again, I love this art, and I think from the beginning I've always been interested in martial arts. I just never had the opportunity, or never had a school close to where I lived, and I grew up in the Bronx here in New York. Um, and even as I got older, I was very athletic, even still am, and not in a competitive way, but just pick up sports and things. And I've always been interested in martial arts. So as my kids started getting a little older, I said, you know what, I want to do something. I don't golf, right? I don't play tennis. I don't go skiing. A lot of the things that uh, many of my colleagues, people that are contemporary to me, do. I don't do any of those things. So I said, what is the thing? So I looked at martial arts. So one day I am giving a talk out in Hamburg, Germany, on integrative approaches to prostate cancer.
Hmm.
And on my way back, I had to stop at Dusseldorf to then get a flight back to New York. So the flight that was going from Hamburg to Dusseldorf was behind, right? And so I was close to missing my flight that was going from Dusseldorf here to New York. So the flight attendant tells me, hey, you're going to have to really, once we get there, you and one other young lady who's going to New York, you guys are going to really have to go fast to get your next flight, okay, to New York. I said, oh, sure, okay. So they let us out first, and we get there. The guy that's waiting for, she said, there's going to be some guy, guy waiting for you. So a guy waits for us down in the airport. He says, hey, you guys, yeah. So, hey, let me get your bags. We need to go fast. So he's running with our bags. I mean, he's really, and I'm like, I'm like, I don't have any bags and I'm in bad shape, right? I'm like gasping for air. And so we get there and say, all right, guys, you got to go. So he says, I said to him, man, you're in good shape. How are you in such a good shape? He says, well, I have to, I do Krav Maga. And it was almost like in a movie, like everything stopped. And here I am, I have to get to the flight. And I look back, I said, you do what? He says, I do Krav Maga. I said, what is that? He says, it's an Israeli martial art. So as soon as I got to the plane, I settled down, I started looking it up. And then I started looking up for schools in New York.
Nice.
And so then I went to, that's what really started everything. I didn't even know such thing existed. And then I found a school in New York, and then I've been practicing for now almost 6 years.
Nice. And if you don't mind my asking, like, if you can give a shout out to your instructor, like, who do you train with?
So my instructor is Ron Mizrahi, Krav Maga Federation here in New York. Okay. Everybody thinks their school is the best school in the world, so I am one of them. And everybody thinks their instructor is the best instructor in the world, and I am biased. Though I've trained a little bit with David Kahn, who you've interviewed. Yep. And that's, I went to Princeton. He's about an hour and a half away from me, and I trained with him. And so David would say, yeah, the best school in New York City is Ron Mizrahi, Krav Maga Federation. So Ron, he got his black belt from Chaim Zut, who's one of the initial people got their black belts and beyond from Imi Leckenfield. So excellent lineage. Ron trained with Imi early on in Israel, and then moved to New York in the early 1990s and started his school since then. And it's the real deal, and it's really difficult. And I only know that it's the real deal, biases a little bit aside, because I didn't start with Ron. I was at another school because all I knew was Krav. I don't know what's good or bad, right? I don't know. Yeah. Krav Maga school, great. Sign up. Where do I sign up? I went there and I said, and we started doing what we did. I was like, I don't know what Krav Maga. I don't even know what to expect. But this kind of doesn't feel right. It's just a gut feeling. So I said, all right, maybe it's me. So here I go to the next one. Oh my God, this doesn't feel right. So I said, I got to look up another school. And when I looked up the other schools and looked up Ron and Krav Maga Federation, went to one of his classes. And first of all, it was great to see that the name of the person's school is not some mystical figure. He's actually the one teaching.
Yeah.
So sometimes in these martial arts schools, that name, you never see that person, right? His students are the one. So I went to a class and I hear the voice. And I was like, wow, this is the guy. Mm-hmm. And he teaches many of the classes. And I went and I just loved what I saw. And I've been training ever since.
Nice. So that's interesting. So from the perspective of an absolute beginner, right? Because like the experts can all like black belts and people that have been in Krav for a long time, we can tell the difference between good Krav and bad Krav. Yep. But even at that beginner level, there was that gut instinct that something wasn't quite right and it wasn't genuine Krav Maga, or wasn't being taught in the correct manner. Can you give us a little bit of a highlight, like on what was the difference? Like what did you see in those other studios that you didn't see in the current one?
Well, I think that thinking back, I think the issue was that when I went to those schools, it was like a fitness class Krav Maga type of scenario. So it's like cardio Krav or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, they didn't call it that, but I was like, that's what it feels like, and I'm not interested. I'm fit. I do other things to stay fit. I'm interested in learning the art and learning how to defend myself in the street. Mm-hmm. And so that was that. And when I went to my current school with Ron, it's very clear. This is not a fitness class. If you want to get fit, you do that somewhere else. Here we learn how to, use the art in a real world scenario, and that's the constant messaging. Is you do, you what you learn here is for real world scenarios, and that's that was pretty much it. And there are these Krav Maga cardio schools, and and there's a purpose. I'm not knocking any of those schools, right? If some people need and want community, and they want a good sweat, and through Krav Maga they get it in some of these schools, that's great for them. I was not interested in that. I was interested in the real deal. If I may, Paul, I think you're going to be interested in this. Back then, right? So I had this friend of mine. I'm not Jewish, but I have a very good Jewish friend. And he's a couple of years older than me. And he's, I said, so I had that trip from Germany, right? Mm-hmm. And so I meet with my friend. I said, hey, Steve, I'm going to do this Krav Maga thing. And man, it'll be great if you and I do it together. We're pals, we could do it together. And he says, oh, no, Geo, come on. I think we're too old for that. I mean, look, imagine, you get somebody rolls behind you and kind of you tear up a ligament or a tendon, knee. Oh, no, imagine you got to. I said, Steve, are you serious? You're talking. So that conversation made me want to do it even more, because part of what I do for a living is how ultimately I want to help men live longer and better with age, so that there is very little to no limitation. So I don't want to be 60 and say, well, I can't do that because I'm out of shape or I'm not fit or things like that. So that conversation with my friend actually kind of lit me up to say, all right, you know what? I'm really going to do this. And I'm going to go spar, and I'm going to go to Ron school, which is clear sparring, and you get to hit each other, and you really learn the art and learn how to defend yourself, and it gets a little physical. I'm definitely going to do that now. And so that's part of that story. So
nice. So did you find that could it have been that the difference between what you're saying, the cardio school and the real Krav schools, is that maybe the instructors there only have sort of a superficial knowledge of Krav, where they just know some techniques and stuff, and then they can just kind of teach that, and they have to fill everything else in with just cardio, where there's a deeper knowledge, especially of like psychological factors and stuff like that that go along with violence in an actual Krav school?
I don't know. I tell you what I do see from our school is that it's not for everybody.
Definitely
right?
not.
So it's not for everybody. So the attrition rate can be really high because once you start sparring, and though we're very gentle and we're it's not like we just go and just cream people and just right. But it's rigorous and it has a rigorous tone to it. Again, it's not in a negative way or in a way to demean anybody. It's in a way that hey, this is real world and let's get that cortisol up a little bit in class because when you're out there, the cortisol level is going to go up. And what do you do in that scenario? Can you do what you learned when you're fight or flight response? By the way, I like I'm into the science of everything, and so I'm also into the science of the response of. I know you interviewed a guy Noor, and that was fascinating because he's a scientist, so he's written scientific papers on Krav Maga, and I love to geek out on that kind of stuff and how to apply that in the real world, right? So so that's how we do in our school. In the other school, again, it was there was a little bit of hitting up in the nose with your palm and that kind of stuff, and go but it didn't. Now looking back, again, it's not even a criticism because there is room for that. But there's a perhaps I don't know the business that well, right? I'm not like you said. I'm probably the only one of the few that don't have extensive experience and don't make a living from this. I'm actually paid. I pay. I don't make a living. I'm the one that's paying quite a bit actually, and I love it. It really is an investment for me. But they need to kind of keep the business going, right? And they have a certain group of people that keep coming, and they like to sweat and like to do the stuff. And I don't know. There's a cardio class at the end, and in our school, it's not like many of the schools that from the people that you've interviewed that I've seen quite a few. I'm like, oh no, that seems to be the real deal. So
definitely. All right. So as a doctor. All right. And your focus, like you said, is to help men prolong their lives, right? And live longer, healthier. How is the Krav training helping with that? Just for the men out there, like how does it help?
Right. So my mission with my work is and it always starts with the pelvic area with me. That's the urological area. So no one comes to me say, hey, how can I live longer and better? No, they have a problem. I try to fix that problem. And then we have a much wider and bigger discussion. All right, the goal is to live longer and better with optimal functionality as you age. How do we do that, right? So everybody has their thing that they want. Look, we all have that inner athlete in us. Right? That we're afraid to dabble in. We're afraid to try at some point because you know what? Other than golf, and I joke with my golf buddies, this is not really a true sport, right? I mean, come on. You're not going to tell me you're an athlete because you play golf. You better not even tell me you're exercising because you play golf, all right? So we have that discussion, and we all have that inner athlete. And if you already were an athlete, so I played football in high school and a little bit in college, that never really comes out of your system completely. Life takes over. You start having kids and you do the stuff and, you have to work and, I don't have time to exercise. I don't have time to be an athlete, right? But you still have it in your system. It's still that itch that you want to scratch. And for the non-athlete, for the geeky person, studious academic person, they also have it in them. They I wonder, man, I wish I could have. And, right. So I think we all have it in us. So it's a matter of finding your thing, right? And your thing could be whatever. Your thing could be tennis. I have patients that play competitive tennis. I'll tell you one patient of mine because I think is interesting, Paul. So he's 78.
Oh, wow.
plays competitive tennis. And this is a psychology of a healthier way of looking at aging, because no one wants to age and blah, blah, I don't want to age, right? So this is a healthier way. So he's 78, plays competitive tennis. And he tells me, oh, Dr. Geo, I can't wait to be 80. Oh, can't. I was like, Tom, what? Yeah, I can't wait to be 80. First of all, this is the first time anyone has ever told me that. Second of all, what are you talking about? Why? He said, well, because then I'll be a different age bracket. And so now I'll be one of the youngest in that new age bracket that's between 80 and 84. And I think I'm going to beat the number one guy there. I'm struggling to beating the number one guy in my age group now,
Wow.
in tennis, right? So
Yeah.
so my patients teach me a lot, honestly, how to live, how I get things wrong, how I get things right. So I pay close attention to what they're telling me, and I try to incorporate it to the philosophy that I think I want to expand on, which is, how can men live longer and better with age? So to me, I think that it's imperative to be the athlete you want to be as you get older. I'm not saying go play rugby. I'm not saying go play, put on a helmet and play American football. But what is it that you soccer? You could play soccer. It doesn't even have to be. I am an athlete, I think, as training in Krav Maga. I train as an athlete. I don't know that I'll ever compete. I dabble in BJJ a little bit. We'll see if I'll compete there in a couple of years. I'm really focused on Krav Maga now, but I don't want to have if at 55 years old, I'm 49 now. If at 55 years old, I want to say, hey, I want to compete in whatever, another martial art, I want to do so without any hesitation. And I think that's the way we should live, and I think that this is not about genetics. It's about your day-to-day life and how you live your life and how you take care and preserve your body. So,
are there any practices or ways of doing things that you've seen in Krav Maga or martial arts in general that you're kind of like, well, maybe we should find a different way of doing that to teach whatever skill they're trying to teach, because it's doing more harm than good?
I have to say I've been in it for 6 years, and I'm probably too young in the art to think of it that way. But I am a thinker, and I look at things, and I look at, kind of, I have, but I don't know that my opinion really matters that much yet, honestly. But what I would say is this: this is my observation so far, Paul, and I think your listening audience may find this of value. I think that it behooves the Kravist to train in obtaining optimal physical strength. Okay. So from a longevity perspective, the stronger you are, the harder it is for you to die. This is scientific. This is not just an opinion. This is not just a nice line and a good saying. So science shows stronger people live longer.
Right. So can you elaborate a little bit more on that?
Sure. So a method. So it's not like it's not like scientists are going around that I know of and looking at their deadlifts and say, wow, you could deadlift longer, so you could deadlift more high weight, so then you can you'll live longer. That's not. But they've looked at grip strength in science, and so grip strength is a reflection of overall strength. Science shows. So those that have better grip strength typically have very good strength, right? But physically.
Okay.
And what they've noticed is those with more grip strength live longer and die less from all-cause mortality. So cancer, heart disease, strokes, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So it's better to be physically strong. So it's better to train rather than running marathons, though I like running marathons, rather than doing triathlons, though I used to participate that kind of stuff, and I think it was great, and there's value there. Train on getting physically stronger. Doesn't matter your size, doesn't matter how big you want to get to. Train on getting physically stronger because that's better for your longevity. Okay. How do you implement that with Krav Maga? I'm looking at it, I'm like, wait a minute, you need to be strong. After you know the move and the skill and the principles of the art and in different scenarios, you need strength. Because when you are striking, you with more strength, you have more force in that strike, whether it's a kick or a punch, right? So you can do more damage. And at least in our school, is like, hey, there is no real self-defense, it's self-offense. So you get out of the way of harm, and then when you strike hard with proper technique, and try to do as much damage as you can with minimal striking, right? So get out of the way, strike hard. Well, you need physical strength, and the more you have, the better you're gonna get out of a situation. The other thing that I'm looking at in my training, I was like, hell, there's a lot of grabbing. Grab the guy with the knife right in the wrist, grab their shirt. Or, there's a lot of grabbing throughout, with sticks and with, when close range gun defenses. That's a lot of grabbing. So you want to make sure your grab is a good grip. So sometimes I find that some of the people I'm training was like, well, I don't tell them that. I don't want to make them feel bad. And I don't go around preaching. But the grip is weak. And it has nothing to do with size. Ron Mizrahi is like, what, 5'7", I don't know, 150, 60 pounds. This guy is strong. And when he grabs you, you feel it. Right? So I think that it's very important, I think, that the Kravist trains in physical strength. Not so, if you have to choose one, right? Because there's well, how about endurance? Physical endurance. Yeah, sure, but a fight shouldn't last that long, right? This is not MMA.
Yeah.
No one is like Ron would say, no one's going to raise your hand and say, you're the champion, right? This is street. So it shouldn't take that long, right? So I think training in physical strength gives you more bang for your buck as a Kravist than in anything else. Yes, flexibility. Yes, mobility. I'm not undermining any of these things, right? But train in physical strength. You get more bang for your buck.
It's interesting. It's the first time I've ever heard that connection to longevity.
Yeah, I think it's
strength.
actually unique to me because I've been observing for 6 years and been observing closely and saying, wow, this person. And when I when I was a white belt and I went up against blue belts, I held my own. They kicked my butt, but I held my own. They kicked my butt because they were more experienced, right? But I held my own a few times, and the only reason for that is because I was physically strong. So I went, long with them, and I did, I was able to do certain things to be able to make it somewhat competitive to this much higher belt person. And it's only because I had no skills at the time. It's only because I was physically stronger than they were. So
nice. So so you've been doing 6 years. What other areas of Krav Maga would you like to explore? Like, do you have any things that you'd like to do? Have you traveled to Israel to do any training yet?
So not yet. So I'm going to California. Actually, there's a few guys that you interviewed. I'm going to LA in April, and I'm going to look up these guys and some of the guys that you interviewed and kind of see if I do a class with them. I haven't gone to Israel yet. I plan to. I'm hoping that it could be work fun, and there's probably an opportunity there now that things are opening up a little bit more. Would love to. But I trained a day or two with David Kahn, and that was great. The fact that he's so close and he's like, a master really, and a master, been doing it for so long, and trains with Chaim Gidon. He's also the real deal, and that's a lot of fun. So yeah, no, I plan to go to Israel and look at. I like history. I've read a lot about the history of Krav Maga. So I actually, some of your podcast interviewees talked about it. A lot of fun. And congratulations on your podcast, man. It's amazing. I tell you, it's amazing. It's the best out there. So keep up
Thank
the
you.
good work there. And I do plan to go to Israel and kind of train with some of those guys there at some point.
Nice. So you also are starting a podcast, correct?
Yeah,
All right. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
I appreciate that. Again, this is actually great that I'm here talking to in a podcast unrelated to the work I do, and that we are talking a little bit about this. I appreciate the opportunity here. Dr. Geo Podcast. So I go by Dr. Geo. It kind of took a life of its own, and so that my website is drgeo.com. And I'm going to talk about the things that I know about, which is, actually, I'm going to talk about my experiences, my clinical experiences, my research, the science, my thoughts on how can men live better with age. So along with that, it's going to be a lot of prostate discussions and urinary problems that men have as they age, and prostate cancer and low testosterone, erectile dysfunction, all kind of the kind of stuff, and everything related to that. I'm an involved father, so I have thoughts on that, and even probably Krav Maga, and not only from a Krav Maga perspective, but hey, man, do your thing, do the thing that get the inner athlete out of your system and go for it. Don't be limited. I love BJJ. I think there's the reason why I love BJJ is because I see a lot of older guys, starting and liking it, right? And it's a great art. And the other reason I didn't do BJJ initially, Paul, to go back to your original question, is like, wow, I like it. It's great, and I like the art. It's very artistic, and you have to really think. They call it human chess for a reason. But in a real life situation, I'm not bringing anybody to the floor. I'm not doing that.
No. Hard to run away when you're on the ground.
The floor.
Yeah, it's difficult to run away when you're on the ground, right? So
it is, and I have no business there. To me, that's just common sense, because it's just common sense. Like, I don't know about the self-defense component of BJJ, though. Again, I love it, and I think I'll embark in it at some point in the future, but not from a self-defense perspective. So anyway, but if somebody older wants to kind of do BJJ, I want to. That the podcast in part is going to be, hey man, live your best life as you age. No old mind. Don't let an old man move into your body. Don't think old. Don't say I'm too old. Don't talk like that. I'm too old. Oh my God, of course my back hurts. I'm too old. Now I'm whatever, 62. No, we don't do that. So a big part of that podcast will be that, and interviewing experts from around the world and these type of topics. Yeah.
Nice. And when and where will that be available?
It should be available towards the third month of this month, so towards the February 20th or so, 21st. Okay. And anybody who's interested, and again, thanks for allowing me to say this on your podcast. drgeo.com is the center of all that kind of information. drgeo.com, and thank you for that. Yeah, that's. I look forward to that.
And I'll probably listen in. I like listening to podcasts, and I have like a.
Me too.
I've always got one on the go at least, and I like to binge listen to them.
Yeah, there's so many good ones these days, right?
Oh, there's so many. Yeah. So I want to thank you for coming on, sir. And this has been a great discussion. Like I said, here at Krav Life, it's about building a community, and the community isn't just the instructors, right? We want everybody to know everybody, instructors, and everybody has value to add to Krav Maga. Even if it's like, especially being a doctor, you definitely have value to add, even to how we perform things and view things. And I look forward to more of your research, and who knows where it's going to take you. You'll be the doctor to the Kravists. There we go.
Well, me and Guy Nor, who has a great PhD. Again, I've never met him. I look forward to meeting him and connecting with him and sort of geek out on the whole thing and Krav Maga and beyond. And the history. He's a historian with Krav Maga. I mean, it's great.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would love to inspire and motivate other people in my situation to go for it and find a school near them and figure out, there's a lot of decent schools out there through you and your community and your website. I've learned that, by the way.
Yes.
I didn't know that
the
there were so
director.
many out there that are actually very good. So, good work from your part. Thanks for doing what you're doing, Paul. And again, keep up the good work, man. I can't wait to listen to your next interview.
Awesome. So yeah, once again, I want to thank you for being on, and I look forward to talking to you again. And if I'm ever down in the New York area, I'll definitely look you up, and we can hang out and maybe do a class together.
100%. Yep.
All right, that'd be awesome. All right, you stay safe, sir, and I'll talk to you again at some point.
You too, brother. Be well.
Bye-bye.